On today's edition of Cronkite Sports Live, we'll take a look at ASU football after a surprising performance last week.
Undefeated Sun Devil Volleyball is on the road this weekend for their greatest test yet against a national powerhouse. Can the magic continue for ASU?
As for the women's soccer team, the Sun Devils took on that same national powerhouse on the pitch already. Find out how that went down, along with so much more on Cronkite Sports Live.
If having Cronkite Sports Live is wrong, then I don't want to be right. How's it going, folks? Riley Swenson alongside Jonah Krell, live from Studio 6 in downtown Phoenix. And Jonah, don't look now, but ASU football, they kept it close against USC last weekend. Some might consider that a win.
Yeah, absolutely, Riley. I mean, ASU fans were just simply looking for signs of life from the team, and they got plenty more than that. And the fans also showed life themselves at Mountain America Stadium, and head coach Kenny Dillingham sure did appreciate that.
So I just want to say thank you to the fans again. That atmosphere was electric. Our players felt it. That's what college football is about. So thank you to everybody who showed up and was loud and supportive of the football team.
The crowd definitely made its presence felt, and even the Trojans were rattled. Luckily, our WCSN football reporter, Sean Brennan, was not. You were working hard in the press box that night. Sean, thanks for joining us.
Always happy to chat.
Of course. And now I mentioned USC was a little rattled. Tell me about that atmosphere and what the impact was on the actual game.
Oh, it was loud. The student section was packed. There was over 54,000 fans, and it undoubtedly had an impact on the game. On its first offensive drive alone, USC was guilty of 2 pre-snap penalties just because of how much noise the Sun Devil faithful was making, and that energy would carry on throughout the whole game. USC, finished with 5 of those pre-snap infractions, and after the game, Kenny Dillingham said that this is what activating the Valley looks like. You know, the fans really created a home field advantage, and the Sun Devils fed off it. They played their best game of the season against USC.
And they activated the Valley, but they couldn't activate the upset, just coming up close, keeping it close until the end. But what were some of the positives that you took away from the game?
Well, the most obvious bright spot is the strides that the offense made. Going into that USC game, ASU hadn't scored a single point in its last 6 quarters, so putting up 28 and over 350 yards against the 5th-ranked team is pretty good. And ASU also only turned the ball over 2 times, which, you know, that's not perfect, but it's a far cry from the 8 times they turned over the ball against Fresno State 2 weeks ago. And on top of that, the defense played about as well as it could against USC's red-hot attack. So there's really a lot to be optimistic about in Tempe.
Taking strides, baby steps for sure. And then the last little wrinkle of the game, Kenny Dillingham was calling offensive plays for the first time. What do you think that made a difference about?
Well, from the start of the season, ASU really hasn't feared any opponent they played regardless of talent, and that showed in Dillingham's play calling. I mean, it was his first game calling plays, but he adopted an aggressive mindset immediately. He kept that Trojans defense guessing, had a lot of trick plays, and that played a big part in keeping the defense rested and ready to go, and they, like I said, had a great game. So, yeah, those gambles really paid off for most of the time. ASU went 3 for 4 on 4th downs and had their most offensive yards in a single game since that Week 1 win against Southern Utah. Now, that all-in-or-nothing approach can backfire at times, so what I'm looking for is to see if Kenny can really get a feel for the right times to really be aggressive in his play calling.
Definitely a learning curve for sure. But I think, Sean, we can confidently say, I mean, this was a big improvement, night and day for the Sun Devils. And now our Ben Paris joins us in studio. I'm pretty sure he feels the same way. Ben, what did you notice after watching the film from last Saturday's game?
Jonah, the biggest thing for me is how Arizona State was able to utilize Cameron Scadaboo. We've seen it all season long. This guy's run the ball. He's passed the ball. He's caught the ball. He's even punted the football. But I want to take a look at 4 plays from the game against USC, starting with this one right here. We're going to see a 4th down. We're going to see Scadaboo under center. And almost every single time he's been under center so far this season, he's run the ball. But not this time. He moves towards the right side of the field. There's Elijah Badger. These 2 defenders don't know who's supposed to pick him up. He's just going to keep moving into some open space. Scadaboo Scadaboo with the defender in his face, able to throw just an absolute dime. They pick up the first down, big to move the chains on 4th downs. ASU able to keep some momentum. Now on this next play, we're going to see Scadaboo under center again, but this is just going to be the simple Wildcat. We've seen it all season long, but he picks up a lot of yards here. Looks like he's just going to go straight down the middle, but all the linemen are going to move left. He's going to move to his right. Lots of open field with the wide receivers at the top of the formation, and there's another 20-25 yards for Arizona State. Moves the chains yet again, and these are really things that have kept momentum going for Arizona State. These next two are part of his series. This one, 3rd and 6 at midfield. Drew Pine just going to give him the simple pitch. He's going to work up the far side of the field. Scadaboo's just going to get the ball, whatever. Not a super big deal, but what ASU does is they run this play 2, 3, 4 times again in the second quarter, so that later in the drive, once again, still in the second quarter, everybody thinks he's going to that side of the field, but he's actually going to pass the ball. Drew Pine is going to go this way. He's got 4 defenders in his face, so Drew Pine has plenty of space to get the pass from Scadaboo, move the chains on 2nd down. And the thing is that these kept drives going for ASU all game long. Scadaboo is such a dynamic guy that you never know what he's going to do with the football. When he's under center, is he going to run it? Is he going to pass it? You never really know. So it keeps some of the top teams in the nation, like USC, on their toes, and that's how ASU is able to stay in this game, and that's just the creative play calling that Kenny Dillingham has tried to have.
All right, so Cal football, the darlings of being mediocre to bad for the last decade plus, right? Not so fast this year. With a 2-2 record so far, the Golden Bears have shown some strides this year to make them, as crazy as it sounds out loud, a 12.5-point favorite over the Sun Devils tomorrow. WCSN football reporter Kevin Malater has more on the NorCal opponent.
The first road test of the season for Sun Devil football is the California Golden Bears. For Cal, long gone are the days where Aaron Rodgers was introducing himself to the nation, or Jared Goff was lighting up school records on his way to becoming the #1 overall pick. And who could forget Beast Mode and his famous joyride across the turf at California Memorial Stadium.
That's one of the more ridiculous things I've ever seen.
But things have changed in Berkeley over the last few years, and not for the best. Now in his 7th season at the helm, Justin Wilcox is yet to record a winning record in Pac-12 play, and has his team all trading wins for their first 4 games of the season. However, the Bears come into this one with a reinvigorated offense. Led by the return of offensive coordinator Jake Spavital, he features a designed 2-quarterback system and a strong ground game. In an offensive-focused conference like the Pac-12, the Golden Bears move the football in a different way, using the ground game to their advantage. Cal ranks 3rd in the Pac-12 in rushing yards per game, led by sophomore sensation Jaden Ott, who's 2nd in the conference in that category. Ott was a bright spot a season ago in a year full of struggles for California's offense, and this year he's just as successful despite missing the team's Week 3 game against Idaho due to injury. On the defensive side of the football, the Golden Bears have shown signs of life. Sure, they are coming off a week in which they gave up 59 points to now 7th-ranked Washington, but prior to that, Cal had given up 17 points per game, a good sign for an offense that gave up just under 24 in 2022. Justin Wilcox's defense has forced 11 turnovers so far, with Caleb Elarm's Orr being the guiding force for success, recording an interception and a forced fumble through 4 games. All in all, this Cal team is much more balanced than they have been in years past, making Saturday's trip to Berkeley no easy task for the underdog Sun Devils. For Cronkite Sports, I'm Kevin Malater.
Thank you, Kevin. Feels like that game on Saturday could be closer than what the experts think. If you're an Arizona State athletics fan, no matter the sport, your focus should be in California this weekend. To highlight the plethora of Sun Devils making their way out west, we send it to Justin Lacertosa with another edition of Sun Devil Destinations.
Previously on Sun Devil Destinations, I took the liberty of being your tour guide as we embarked on a journey across the West Coast. This time around, we're headed to the Bay Area, where the Sun Devils have a jam-packed weekend ahead.
Welcome to the Bay Area. Definitely a bit more formal on the dress code for this trip. That's besides the point, though. We are here at Stanford University, the home of the Cardinal. Sun Devil Soccer arrived in the Bay early as number 3 Stanford narrowly came out victorious 2-1. Arizona State hung in with the national powerhouse through the thick and thin, but it wasn't enough to topple Stanford at the Farm. Now let's talk some Sun Devil volleyball. 14-0 on the season, second best start in school history, and they'll have their hands full in the Golden State this weekend as they head to Maples Pavilion tonight at 6 p.m. to battle third-ranked Stanford. The Sun Devils have won just 4 of their 38 matches against Stanford, dating back to 1999, so historically, it's safe to say the Cardinal have the Devils numbered. The Sun Devils are looking to make history as they are just 1 win away from tying their best single-season start since the program's inception. Let's now hit the road and head up northeast for our second stop. We are now here in Berkeley, where Kenny Dillingham and his squad will be welcomed by the California Golden Bears on Saturday at noon as they look to avenge themselves in their second Pac-12 matchup. The last time these two Pac-12 foes met was in 2019, where former Sun Devil and current New Orleans Saint Eno Benjamin rushed for 100 yards and 3 touchdowns en route to the victory as ASU improved to 4-1. 4 years later, the Sun Devils sit at 1-3 as both teams look to get, well, their first Pac-12 win. The Golden Bears will also be welcoming women's soccer and volleyball to town. Since hiring Coach Winkworth, the Devils have gone 2-3-1 against the Golden Bears, while Sun Devil Volleyball have won their last 6 matches against Cal. That's going to do it for our second tour. Hope you guys had just as much fun as I did at the Bay Area this weekend. Thank you all for tagging along. I'll see you all on the next trip.
During the offseason, ASU Volleyball had what we in the business like to call a culture change. So far, it's paid off, as they have yet to lose a match, and middle blocker Claire Jeter had this to say about the team's chemistry.
Yeah, I think that our team is a family. It's like I think the best team that I've ever played with in terms of making sure that we're playing for each other, not for ourselves individually. And I think that once we kind of knew that we wanted to play and we wanted to come out, we got talked to by JJ. We kind of just pulled ourselves together and we locked in. I think at that point it was easy for us to come back. Once we kind of huddle up, we get our connection on, we touch, I think it kind of sends some endorphins in you to play. And, in front of a big crowd again, we're here to make a difference at ASU Volleyball right now. And, we're the underdogs, and I think it's really fun for us to play like that.
Underdogs they may be, but talent is something they do not lack. Coming into this season, Marta Levinska was supposed to be an impact player for ASU Volleyball. The team now sits at 14-0, and kind of like an In-N-Out burger, she's lived up to the hype. This past week, she made Sun Devil Athletics history, and WCSN volleyball reporter Jacob Shanker has the details.
Marta Levinska has been cooking up a masterclass for the Sun Devils as she was named Pac-12 Player of the Week for the 2nd time in a row. She's now the first ASU student athlete to receive back-to-back Player of the Week nods. Levinska and the Devils went 2-0 in Mullet Arena as they opened Pac-12 play by defeating rivals U of A and Washington. Levinska was able to get double-digit kills in both games as she got 18 against the Wildcats and 19 against the Huskies. Her performance this past weekend moved to her 13th place in ASU career kills. She also made huge contributions on the defensive end as she got 10 digs and 2 blocks on the Huskies. This is Levinska's 4th weekly award as she's the 3rd ASU player to reach that achievement. This puts her in a historic company with Macy Gardner and Christine Gardner. The Sun Devils' undefeated run puts them ranked at 25th, which is the first time they've been ranked since 2018. However, the Devils face tough competition as they travel to the Bay Area to face Cal and the number 3 ranked team, Stanford.
Thanks, Jacob. Levinska has been lighting it up this season, but it's not just a one-woman show. The entire ASU volleyball team is getting after it. WCSN volleyball reporter Max Cepeda explains what's been working and what challenge lies ahead in this week's By the Numbers. Max?
Thanks, Jonah. Marta Levinska is not the only historic wave washing over this Arizona State volleyball squad, as the 14-0 Sun Devils are not only the last remaining unbeaten team in the Pac-12, but are just one of 3 D1 undefeated teams in the nation alongside, yes, number 2 Nebraska and number 1 Wisconsin. In fact, head coach J.J. Van Niel has become just the 2nd coach in ASU volleyball history to have their squad ranked in their first season on the job. The other was Debbie Brown's Sun Devils 40 years ago in 1983. And the serving game continues to be a strong point for ASU. As a team, they are ranked 3rd in the nation in aces per set with 2.41 and 8th in total aces. While Levinska's contributions cannot be overstated, graduates Mary Scholl and Shannon Shields are right behind her in the category, and all 3 individuals have already exceeded their ace totals from all of 2022. But the Devils will have another storm coming tonight in Palo Alto, as number 3 Stanford has had elite control of both sides of the ball all season long and sit right behind ASU in numerous categories, not only in the pack, but also nationally. Both teams are just 2 of 7 schools in the country to be hitting better than 300 on the season, thanks to the efforts of defending Pac-12 Player of the Year Kendall Kipp and defending Setter of the Year Cami Miller. Now these are the numbers going into tonight's ranked matchup, and as you can see, both aces per set and hitting percentage point heavily in the Sun Devils' favor, while on the opposite side of the ball, the numbers are closer to even between the two. And as we sit mere minutes away from the first ranked matchup for the Maroon and Gold in 5 years, these numbers may just be the key for ASU to shock the volleyball world and claim its first top 5 victory since it knocked off the then second-ranked Texas Longhorns in 2013. Guys?
Earlier in the show, we touched on what went down last night in Stanford. We got to show you the full highlights. We'll start this one in the first half. Andrea Kirihara crosses it in to Erica Gorleone. She puts it in the back of the net. Stanford has scored first in 9 of their 10 games this season. That trend continued last night, but ASU, they were not going to go down without a fight. Suzuka Yosei passes it in to Flo Valencourt. She goes up to the top corner where Mama hides the cookies. That ties this one up at 1 apiece. You see the Sun Devils, they're dogpiling within the box. They know just how important this win would be, but Stanford, they're playing on their home turf. They're number 3 in the country for a reason. Erica Gorleone, earlier she scored the goal. Now she crosses it into Jasmine Ike. She settles and strikes far corner of the net. Makes it 2-1 Stanford late in the second half, her 5th of the season. You can see the shot of the crowd. They're getting excited. The Sun Devil volleyball team was in attendance, although you don't see them in the picture right there. Now ASU down to their final chance. Suzuka Yosei had the assist earlier. She tries to score on the free kick, but Haley Craig says you are denied. Sun Devils fall 2-1. For the past few years, Sun Devils soccer coach Graham Winkworth has built a brand of soccer that is respected across the Pac-12. Now the conference is coming to an end, meaning he has one last trip through the league. WCSN soccer reporter Gabby Chernoff gives us a look back on Winkworth's time in the Pac and just what his brand is.
In November of 2016, ASU announced Graham Winkworth as the new head coach of ASU women's soccer. Prior to his arrival in Tempe, he spent 10 years as North Alabama's head coach and 4 years transforming the South Alabama program. Through 7 seasons, Coach Winkworth has led the Sun Devil soccer team to 2 NCAA postseason appearances, 3 consecutive seasons with a winning record, and boasts an impressive unbeaten record in Pac-12 openers. A key component in Winkworth's coaching success is his attention to international recruitment. This season alone, 15 of the 31 players on the ASU roster are from countries outside of the United States, most notably German goalkeeper Pauline Nels. Nels shut out the Oregon State Beavers in the team's Pac-12 opener and currently leads all Pac-12 goalkeepers with her .884 save percentage. Winkworth believes the sophomore is already one of the best keepers in the country, and her impact on the program has been nothing short of impressive. But Winkworth's keen eye for international players isn't his only approach to coaching that helps make the team successful. Winkworth's focus on an attack-heavy playing style and special attention to getting his players on the ball has created a more competitive offense with more scoring opportunities, a key component in ASU's success as a soccer program. The Sun Devils earned their first loss of the Pac-12 season to number 3 Stanford last night, moving to 1-1 in in-conference play. It'll be interesting to see how Coach Winkworth's coaching strategies play out through the rest of their final Pac-12 season. For WCSN, Gabby Chernoff.
Thank you, Gabby. Another ASU team off to an even hotter start is ASU Swim and Dive, but it depends on who you ask. Head coach Bob Bowman has high standards, and our own Grace Johnson tells us where the squad currently stacks up.
Well, guys, the ASU men's swim and dive team had its first meet under its belt, and the results were decent. The men's team beat Georgia both days by a significant margin, but the Sun Devils still fell short of expectations. Now, freshman Ilya Karun broke the school record in the 100-yard butterfly race with a time of 44.88 seconds. And of course, the big guy in the pool, Leon Marchand, went 3 for 3 in his individual events. But head coach Bob Bowman still expressed that the past is in the past and that the team has to continually get better today and tomorrow and the next day after. Now, don't get me wrong, this team has proven that they are rightfully one of the top teams in the country. But because this team consists of Olympic contenders, Pac-12, and national champions, it has high expectations moving forward. The Sun Devils beat a Georgia team that was ranked 13th at the end of last season, but looking ahead, they will have to face UNLV and then NC State, who was ranked 4th at the end of last season. Flash forward a few weeks, and the team will compete in the NC State GAC Invitational for 4 days, where they'll see the Wolfpack again. If they want to continue to show dominance in the pool, the Sun Devils are not only going to have to keep swimming at the exceptionally high level they're currently swimming at, but also go above and beyond and surpass last season's expectations. Simply put, the sky's the limit for this team, but they have not reached it yet. Guys?
Thanks, Grace. Also this weekend, ASU swim coach Bob Bowman will be inducted into the International Swimming Hall of Fame alongside his star swimmer Michael Phelps. ASU Swim isn't the only team on campus with some lofty goals this upcoming season. In the words of DJ Khaled, let's go golfing. The fall season is just getting underway, and here is FIFA Leopakdi with thoughts on the start to his Sun Devil career.
So fall season, I wanted to win a collegiate event, but I won on my first college event, which is pretty nice, like the best way to start your college career.
Just one of ASU's highly rated newcomers this season. WCSN golf reporter Sam Goodman has an update on some of the new faces hitting the links for the Devils.
Arizona State men's golf just wrapped up their first home tournament of the year this past week at Popco Golf Club. With graduate senior Gabe Salvanera taking home the crown, two freshman Sun Devils, Nick Prieto and Connor Williams, also found themselves with top 20 finishes. Adding to the national championship contending Arizona State golf team, Prieto and Williams bring a lot of prowess to this young core, sitting behind Preston Summerhays, Jose Le Ballastar, Johnston. Prieto, a former Rolex second-team All-American and Florida Junior champion, was the 18th ranked prospect in his recruiting class. Connor Williams was also a Rolex first-team All-American, as well as the 16th ranked prospect in his class and the Southern California Junior champion. Outside the two success stories at Popco, Sun Devils added FIFA Leopakdi, a two-time Thailand Amateur Open champion. At his first collegiate tournament, the Maui Gym Invitational, Leopakdi took home the win, showing his poise under pressure as just a freshman. Leopakdi has already demonstrated the ability to win at the highest level, as he was the youngest ever national team member for Thailand. Rounding out the class with Anawin Pikoltong, a two-time Rolex All-American and the winner of the 2022 U.S. Amateur Qualifier. Pikoltong also came in as the third-ranked golfer in the class of 2023. Arizona State is continuously adding to an already stacked roster, proving the Sun Devils aren't rebuilding, but reloading as the 2023-2024 NCAA golf season ramps up.
We will definitely keep our eyes out for all those golfers, Sam. Speaking of reloading, ASU men's basketball is also taking shape as the season nears. Coming off Bobby Hurley's third NCAA tournament appearance, a new challenge awaits as the Sun Devils now feature almost an entirely new roster. Hurley gave an update this week on where his team stands at the Sun Devils' first practice.
But we've had a pretty long summer, and I think it's been extremely helpful with 9 new players to do the foreign trip. That was a real positive. Got extra practice time. So I think we're far ahead of where we normally would be at this time of year. Not unusual. There's a couple of guys that have some minor stuff going on that we're not participating today, but overall I think it was a great start. Good first step today.
You know, Bobby, I wouldn't mind a nice trip to Europe at this point in the semester, perhaps a little getaway before midterms. I wonder how much that all would cost. Well, ironically enough, as we've previewed certain matchups throughout this show between Arizona State and Cal, those two schools are in some of the most financial trouble in the entire country. It doesn't really get talked about enough, but of course, our Blake Neiman took the time to dig up the numbers attached to these two schools that are so deep in the hole. Check this out.
Arizona State and Cal aren't just poor on the football field. The two schools' athletic departments are currently each in a state of financial crisis. Based on the 2021-22 fiscal year report by Sportico's College Athletic Department's financial database, the Golden Bears lead the nation by a mile in athletics debt with an eye-popping $439 million. The Sun Devils follow as a far third with nearly $320 million in outstanding debt, over $120 million less than Cal. The common denominator in this debt disaster is football stadium renovations. The record-breaking $321 million renovation to California Memorial Stadium a little over a decade ago has crippled Cal's athletic department for the long haul. The historic venue, located smack dab in the middle of the Hayward Fault Line, swallows up $18 million in interest-only payments from Cal Athletics, leaving the Golden Bears operating on only an 80% budget from the jump. Meanwhile, Arizona State has had the bulk of its debt linked to the $300 million renovations to then Sun Devil Stadium from 2015 to 2019. ASU has placed a significant chunk of its debt load on the backs of its students, who pay $75 per semester in athletic fees, generating $11.38 million, which is $5 million more than any other Pac-12 public school. The glimmering light of hope for these institutions to ease their financial burdens was a new lucrative media rights deal. Well, that didn't come to fruition with the Pac-12, but ASU fortunately found a new home in the Big 12, where they will receive a full revenue share when they join the conference in 2024. Cal won't have that same luxury in the ACC, as the Golden Bears will receive only 30% of an ACC revenue share for 7 years, averaging $17 million less initially than what they are currently receiving in the Pac-12. As you can see, ASU and Cal's budgets are broken, and if they don't get their balances in check soon, they'll be left with empty wallets when the bank comes calling.
Let's go to top plays. ASU Soccer at Stanford. Graduate forward Flo Valancourt catches the Cardinal dozing off, and she says, "Wake up!" The equalizer. Sun Devils would fall 2-1 to Stanford.
At number 4, we head to the football field. Drew Pine in the pocket. He's going to sling this one out to his man, Cam Scadaboo. And what can't this guy do? He runs, he throws, he catches, apparently goes to gymnastics as well, because he keeps his balance all the way to the house, 52 yards, and sometimes the Trojan just can't get the job done.
Number 3, ASU men's swim and dive. Ilya Karun, look at that at the top of your screen, 100-yard butterfly, and this is going to be an ASU record. Sorry to play spoiler. The first traditional length swim meet for Karun, just his second collegiate meet overall in 44.88 seconds. Bob Bowman just continues to turn out gems. The men would take down Georgia 183-117.
Number 2, let's head to the mullet, but not for hockey. We're playing volleyball. ASU taking on Washington, and holy Shannon. She pounds that one into the ground. ASU goes on to win 3-1 over the Huskies.
Number 1, we go back to Mountain America Stadium. Drew Pine, he was struggling up to this point, but he's going to float one up to Elijah Badger, and Badger brings it down. That was the first touchdown by the Sun Devils in the second half all season long, but the Trojans, they would hang on and win 42-28. All right, Riley, Cal, 12.5-point favorites this weekend. You think they cover?
I'm not much of a betting man, but I feel like it's going to be closer than that 12.5.
All right, and this guy is going to turn 21 soon. He's going to be able to do that kind of stuff soon enough.
Well, we'll see.
All right, but that'll do it for us here in Studio 6. For everyone behind the camera and in the studio, for Riley Swenson, Jonah Krell signing off, saying so long.